All right, today we are diving deep into an absolute giant of a book, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seriously, this thing has changed the game for millions of people, from CEOs to stay-at-home parents. We're going to break down the core ideas that make it so powerful. So yeah, let's get into it. So let me start with a question for you. What if all those productivity hacks, all the to-do lists, all the life coach advice, what if it's all kind of missing the point? Covey's big argument is that real, lasting change doesn't come from just doing things differently. It comes from changing the very lens through which you see the world. I know, that sounds like a massive claim, but stick with me. By the end of this, you'll see exactly what he means and how it can change, well, everything. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why most self-help stuff just doesn't work. It's what Covey calls the character flaw. Then we'll get into the secret key to all of this: understanding the power of a paradigm. After that, we'll walk through the first set of habits, the private victory, which is all about mastering yourself. Then we'll cover the public victory, which is about success with other people. And we'll wrap it all up with the one habit that keeps everything else going: renewal. All right, section 1. Let's get right to the heart of the problem. Why do so many of us feel like we're spinning our wheels? We try so hard to get ahead, to be better, but we just feel stuck. Well, Covey has a diagnosis that might hit a little too close to home. Does this sound familiar to you? I mean, who hasn't felt this way? This feeling of being completely swamped. We're constantly chasing a sense of peace and productivity, but it always seems to be just around the corner. We're working harder and harder, but we're not actually getting anywhere meaningful. It's like we're just stuck on a hamster wheel. And here's why. Covey says that for about the last half-century, we've been obsessed with something called the personality ethic. This is all the surface-level stuff: communication tricks, positive thinking techniques, how to look successful. He calls them band-aids and aspirins. Sure, they might make you feel better for a minute, but they don't fix the deep, chronic problems. The alternative? The character ethic. This is about who you actually are deep down. It's built on a foundation of timeless principles like integrity, honesty, and fairness. It's about fixing the root cause, not just slapping a band-aid on the symptoms. Okay, so how do we actually make that shift? How do we go from the superficial stuff to the deep, foundational character work? It all starts with understanding one of the most powerful concepts in this entire book: the idea of a paradigm. So what on earth is a paradigm? Well, think of it like your mental map of reality. It's the lens you use to interpret everything that happens to you. But here's the kicker: the map is not the territory. And if you're using the wrong map of, say, New York City, it doesn't matter how positive your attitude is or how fast you run, you're still going to be lost. To really change your life, you have to change your map first. Even Einstein was onto this. He famously said that you can't solve your big problems with the same kind of thinking that created them in the first place. You need a breakthrough. You need a whole new way of looking at things. And that right there is what Covey calls a paradigm shift. Let me give you a massive historical example. For centuries, everybody, all the smartest people, believed the Earth was the center of the universe. That was their map, their paradigm. Then Copernicus comes along and says, guys, I think the sun is at the center. And that one change, that one paradigm shift, completely revolutionized astronomy and science forever. That's the scale of change we're talking about here, but on a personal level. Okay, so if we need a new map, what does it look like? Well, Covey lays it out with the 7 habits, and it all starts with what he calls the private victory. This is the inside job. It's about mastering yourself before you can even think about successfully working with other people. It's the journey from being dependent on others to becoming truly independent. These first 3 habits are the bedrock. Habit 1 is be proactive, realizing you are the one driving your life. Habit 2 is begin with the end in mind, which is all about having a crystal clear vision of where you want to go. And habit 3 is put first things first. This is the nitty-gritty of organizing and executing around your most important priorities, not just the urgent stuff that screams for your attention. Let's start with proactivity, because it's the foundation for everything else. And look, it's way more than just a corporate buzzword for taking initiative. Being proactive means truly understanding that you are the author of your life. See, reactive people get pushed around by their feelings, their moods, their circumstances, but proactive people are driven by their values. They know that no matter what happens to them, they have the power to choose how they respond. This powerful idea is captured by Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who actually survived the Nazi concentration camps. I mean, think about that. He endured things most of us can't even imagine. And yet, in the middle of all that horror, he had a profound realization. His captors could control his body, his environment, but they could never take away his freedom to choose his response. That tiny space between what happens to us and how we respond to it, that's where our growth and our freedom live. Now, this idea of choosing your response leads to another huge principle in the book. Covey calls it the P/PC balance. It sounds a little technical, but it's super simple. P stands for production. Think of these as the golden eggs, the results you want. And PC stands for production capability. That's the asset, the thing that actually produces the results. True long-term effectiveness is all about keeping these two things in balance. To really get this, Covey uses a classic fable that you've probably heard a million times, but maybe never thought about it this way. It's the story of the poor farmer who wakes up one day and finds out his goose can lay a solid gold egg every single day. So the farmer becomes unbelievably rich, but he also becomes greedy and impatient. He thinks, why wait for one egg a day? I want them all now. So he kills the goose and cuts it open to get all the golden eggs at once. And of course, he finds nothing. In his greed for the eggs, the production, he destroyed the very thing that made them possible, the production capability. So here's the moral of the story for us. In our crazy hustle culture world, we are constantly killing our goose. We burn ourselves out physically and mentally to get that promotion, that's the golden egg, while neglecting our health, that's the goose. We squeeze our employees for short-term profits without investing in their training and morale, the goose. The lesson is simple but profound. If you want the golden eggs long-term, you have to take care of the goose. Okay, once you've achieved that private victory, once you're proactive, you have a vision, you're disciplined, you're now ready for the next level. This is the public victory. And this is a move from being merely independent to the highest form of maturity, which Covey calls interdependence. This is the reality that we achieve our greatest successes with other people, not just on our own. The next 3 habits are all about collaborating effectively. Habit 4 is think win-win. This is a mindset that looks for mutual benefit in every single interaction. Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood, which honestly might be the most important communication principle you'll ever learn. And habit 6 is synergize, which is all about creative cooperation, creating something together that's bigger and better than what anyone could do alone. And you know, at the core of all these public habits is one fundamental belief about the world. Most people, without even realizing it, operate from a scarcity mentality. They see life as a fixed pie. If you get a big piece, that means there's less for me. It's a win-lose world. But highly effective people, they have an abundance mentality. They believe there's plenty of pie to go around for everyone. Your success doesn't take away from my success. It can actually contribute to it. This mindset is the only way to get to genuine win-win outcomes. And that brings us to the final habit. Habit 7 is the one that makes all the other 6 possible. It's the habit of renewal. It's about preserving and enhancing the greatest asset you have, which is, of course, you. Covey calls this one sharpening the saw. He tells a story about a guy frantically trying to saw down a tree. He's been at it for hours, he's exhausted, and he's not making much progress. You walk up and say, hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen that saw? And he replies, I can't, I'm too busy sawing. How many of us are that guy? Sharpening the saw means we have to take time to renew ourselves in 4 key areas: physical, your body; spiritual, your values; mental, your mind; and social, emotional, your relationships. It's not a luxury, it's an absolute necessity. And maybe the biggest takeaway of all is this. This isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. Being effective isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a process of constant growth, an upward spiral of learning, committing, and doing, over and over again. It's about being just a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Look, what we've talked about today is really just scratching the surface. If any of this resonated with you, if you felt that little spark of wanting to shift your own paradigms, I seriously cannot recommend this book enough. It's the detailed step-by-step roadmap. At the very beginning, I asked, what if the secret isn't what you do, but how you see? Well, the 7 habits aren't just habits. They are literally a new pair of eyes to see the world with. So if you're ready to dive in, click the link down in the description to grab your own copy. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.
If you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel and let me know in the comments what other content you'd like to see here. The link to purchase this book is below in the description. Thank you, and see you next time.